Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we'll be looking into the world of short-term rental investing,
All right.
and we're going to be taking all of our cues from Avery Carl's book, Short-Term Rental, Long-Term Wealth.
Fantastic book.
That's a really good one. And, it's funny, I think almost everybody at some point has thought about
Mm-hmm.
owning a vacation property
Right.
and then maybe even renting it out to other people to help offset the costs.
Sure.
So we're going to try to look at, what Avery Carl has to say in her book and break it down and
Absolutely.
try to look at it in a way that is a little bit more balanced.
Yeah, I think a lot of times this stuff can be kind of hyped up,
Yeah.
And so we're going to break down the why behind the what and really
Yeah.
think about this critically.
All right. So I guess the first thing that we should probably do is differentiate between short-term rentals and long-term rentals.
Right. So when we're talking about short-term rentals, we're looking at something with a much quicker turnover of guests,
Okay.
more hands-on management, um, different regulations possibly from long-term rentals,
Makes sense.
and a lot more guest interaction.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So you're going to need a different skill set to make these work.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Avery Carl, in her book, she talks about market selection. And it was very interesting
Mm-hmm.
because she found that regional drive to vacation markets are much more stable during economic downturns than
I'll agree.
people might expect.
Well, and I think there are a couple of things that play into that. One is affordability.
Sure.
People may not be able to afford those big, extravagant trips when times get tough,
Right.
but they still want to get away.
Yeah.
And a drive to destination is a really good option for that. The other thing is looking at the maturity of the market.
Okay.
So you want to think about how long short-term rentals have been popular in a certain market.
Gotcha.
That's going to give you an idea of the regulations in place,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of competition that's already there, and how much money you can actually expect to make.
Okay. So how long they've been established there?
Right. How long it's been a popular place for short-term rentals.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, here's something that I found really intriguing. She recommends using data from national property managers to help with your market analysis.
Well, it makes sense when you think about it. Those big management companies have a lot of data
Right.
across a bunch of different platforms. So they have information about things like occupancy rates,
Okay.
average daily rates, all the market trends.
Mm-hmm.
You can get access to this data through reports that they publish
Got it.
or even consultations with them.
Oh, so you can even hire them to consult with you.
Exactly. It gives you a much wider perspective than just relying on your own limited research.
Okay. All right. So after you've done that, you've selected your market. One of the things that she emphasizes is putting together a really good team.
A good team is essential, especially your housekeepers and your handymen.
Especially those two.
Yeah, they're the ones who are going to make sure things run smoothly for your guests. And especially if you're managing the property remotely, you need to be able to trust these people to handle things.
Right. You're not going to be there.
Exactly. She tells this funny story in the book about a client who micromanaged their team so much that the whole thing fell apart.
Oh, right.
It's a good reminder that you need to delegate and trust the people you've hired.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
So speaking of making things look good,
Yeah,
let's talk about listings and how to create one that's really going to stand out.
absolutely. Your listing is basically the storefront for your property online.
Okay.
So you need to have really great photos,
Yeah.
photos that really capture the essence of the place.
Got it.
And your description needs to be enticing,
Okay.
but it also needs to be honest.
Right.
You need to present any potential downsides.
Sure.
Maybe it's on a steep road or something
Right.
in a positive way.
So turn it into a positive.
Exactly. Like, enjoy the exercise on your way to this charming cabin.
I see. I see.
Something like that.
And one of the things that she talks about that was interesting to me is that you shouldn't rely too much on our property's rental history,
Right. That was a good point.
because sometimes a property with a bad rental history
Mm-hmm.
could actually be a really good opportunity.
It's all about recognizing potential.
Mm.
Those low numbers might just mean that it was poorly managed before,
Yeah.
or the marketing was bad, or maybe it wasn't even listed online.
Right.
So you need to look beyond those numbers and see what the property could become with the right approach.
So you're saying it could be kind of like a diamond in the rough.
Exactly. Like, don't judge a book by its cover.
Okay.
Look at the property's features, the location, who your target market is,
Gotcha.
and see if there's room for improvement.
Okay. Now, this is something that I think might be a little controversial.
Yeah.
Avery Carl seems to be pretty skeptical of property management companies.
Right. Especially the ones who are resistant to using online booking platforms.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, the travel industry has changed a lot in recent years thanks to companies like Airbnb and Vrbo.
Yeah, for sure. People are used to booking their travel online.
Mm-hmm.
They want convenience. They want
They
transparency.
want it to be easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they want to be able to compare different options easily.
Got it.
If a property management company is stuck in the old ways and not using those platforms,
They're going to miss out.
they're missing out on a huge pool of potential guests.
Interesting. She actually said in her book that just by switching to online platforms,
Wow.
she was able to double her income.
Really?
Yeah. So that's a pretty big statement.
That is impressive.
Now, when it comes to finances, Avery Carl is really, really big on having a strong cash reserve.
Right. Having a cash reserve is so important.
And she uses this really vivid phrase that I love. She says that going into an economic downturn without a cash reserve is like
I remember that.
swimming naked.
It's a scary thought.
It is a scary thought.
Nobody wants to be caught in that situation.
No.
Having that cash reserve gives you a cushion.
Right.
You know, things happen, unexpected things happen.
The economy might take a dip.
Yeah.
You might have some unexpected repairs that come up.
Mm-hmm.
Having that cash reserve means you can handle those things without putting your whole investment at risk.
Okay, I like that. And then she goes a step further. She actually recommends having 5 separate bank accounts.
Oh, yeah. The 5 bank account system, it's a little bit more work to set up,
Okay.
but it's really helpful for keeping your finances organized.
So what are those 5 accounts?
Okay, so you have your revenue account.
Okay.
That's where all the money from your rentals comes in.
Got it.
Then you have your taxes account,
Oh.
where you set aside money for taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the CapEx account, which stands for capital expenditures.
Okay.
That's for things like repairs and upgrades to the property.
Gotcha.
And of course, you have your cash reserves account that we already talked about.
Right.
And finally, the profit account.
Okay.
This is the money that you get to keep
Yeah.
the reward for all your hard work.
I like that.
And also the money that you can use to reinvest and grow your portfolio.
So it's a really organized system?
It is. It helps you make sure that every dollar has a purpose.
I see. So you're not just randomly spending money, you know, where everything's going.
Exactly.
All right. So we've talked about the financial side of things, but what about the guest interactions? How do you manage all of that?
Well, you have to find a balance between being hospitable
Right.
and setting boundaries.
Right.
You want your guests to have a great experience, but you also need to protect your own time and energy.
Mm-hmm.
So Avery Carl recommends being responsive to your guests' needs,
Okay.
but also setting clear communication guidelines
Got it.
and business hours.
Oh, so that they know when they can reach you.
Exactly. She tells this funny story about a guest who got drunk and injured themselves and then tried to blame her for it.
Oh, no.
It just goes to show that you need to have clear policies in place.
Right. To protect yourself.
Exactly. And you need to make sure you have the right insurance coverage.
Yeah. Good point. And then when it comes to handling negative reviews, she has some really good advice.
It's important to stay calm
Right.
and professional, respond to the review in a constructive way,
Okay.
and see if you can use the platform's policies to get the review removed if it's unfair.
So you're saying even if it's a negative review, you might be able to get it taken down.
Sometimes, yeah, especially if it violates the platform's rules.
Gotcha. She ends that section of the book with this hilarious story about a guest who was terrified of bears.
Oh, yeah. The one who left a bad review because the cabin wasn't completely bear-proof?
Right. And it was in the mountains.
I was like, what do they expect?
I know. It's just a funny reminder that you can't please everyone.
Exactly. And sometimes you're going to encounter people who have really strange expectations.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into Avery Carl's short-term rental, long-term wealth.
We've talked about everything from market selection and building a team
Right.
to crafting the perfect listing and managing your finances. It's a lot of information.
It is. But it's all essential for anyone who wants to be successful in the short-term rental market.
Right. And it's really just the beginning.
Exactly. In our next segment, we're going to be talking about scaling your STR portfolio,
Okay.
building long-term wealth.
Sounds good.
And we'll be sharing even more valuable insights from Avery Carl.
All right. So be sure to join us for that. All right. So welcome back to our deep dive into Avery Carl's short-term rental, long-term wealth.
Right.
In the last part, we talked about all the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to look at the long game, how to really build wealth.
Right. The long-term vision.
With short-term rentals.
Yeah. It's about scaling your success.
So how do we do that?
Well, Carl's own journey is a great example. She
Hmm.
actually went from short-term rentals to long-term rentals and then back to short-term rentals.
Interesting.
It just shows that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
I like that she emphasizes that you really have to tailor your scaling strategy to your own goals.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
your risk tolerance, too. Right? Some people are more risk-averse than others.
Exactly. So before you even think about expanding,
Mm-hmm.
got to make sure you have a solid cash reserve.
She's really adamant about that.
Well, remember that phrase she uses?
Swimming naked.
Yeah. Imagine facing an economic downturn or a sudden drop in bookings without any financial cushion.
Not a good situation to be in.
Not at all. You need to have that safety net to protect yourself.
All right, so let's say we have our cash reserve in place,
Okay.
and our first short-term rental is doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
How do we take it to the next level?
Well, there are a few different paths you can take.
Okay.
You could stick with the short-term rental strategy
Okay.
and just buy more properties,
Got it.
either in the same market or in new locations.
More short-term rentals.
Exactly. It's a way to potentially grow your income pretty quickly.
Okay, but it's also riskier, right?
It can be. You're more exposed to market fluctuations
Aye.
if you're relying solely on short-term rentals.
So what's another option?
You could diversify a bit and add some long-term rentals to the mix.
Long-term rentals.
Right. They offer a more stable income stream.
Okay.
It's a way to balance out the volatility of the short-term rental market.
I see. So you're kind of hedging your bets.
Exactly. You're spreading your risk.
She also mentions some more advanced strategies in the book.
Right, like 1031 exchanges.
How do those?
They allow you to defer capital gains taxes when you sell an investment property,
Oh, wow.
if you reinvest the proceeds into a similar property.
So you could potentially upgrade to a bigger or better property.
Right, without having to pay a huge tax bill right away.
That sounds pretty complicated, though.
It can be. You definitely need to work with a qualified professional to make sure you're doing it correctly.
Okay, now as your portfolio grows, delegation becomes even more important.
Oh, absolutely. You can't do everything yourself.
Right. So who do you delegate to?
Well, she talks about virtual assistants.
OVAs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can handle a ton of different tasks for you.
Okay. Like what?
Managing bookings, communicating with guests, coordinating cleaning services,
Oh.
even ordering supplies.
That's a lot.
It is, but it frees you up to focus on the bigger picture.
I see. Like growing the business and making strategic decisions.
Exactly. You're not bogged down with all the day-to-day stuff.
She calls a great VA a ninja for your work life.
I love that analogy.
That's a good one. They're like silently working behind the scenes, making sure everything runs smoothly.
Exactly. And that's what allows you to scale successfully.
So it's not just about acquiring more properties. It's
Mhm.
also about building a team that you can trust.
Exactly. You need a strong foundation to support your growth.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive.
It's been a great discussion.
We've gone from the basics of short-term rentals to the more advanced strategies for scaling and building a team.
And Avery Carl's book provides such valuable insights into all of it.
She really emphasizes the importance of proactive planning.
And careful analysis.
Right. You can't just jump into this market blindly.
You need to have a plan, and you need to be prepared to adapt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in our final segment, we're going to distill all of this wisdom into 10 actionable takeaways
Perfect.
for anyone who wants to get started with short-term rentals.
Sounds good.
And we'll leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Avery Carl's short-term rental, long-term wealth.
All right.
We've talked about a lot of different stuff, picking the right market, getting your team together,
Yeah, absolutely.
handling finances, all that good stuff.
It's been a comprehensive journey.
It has. So now I think it's time to try to boil it all down
Right.
to the essential elements.
Absolutely.
So let's try to come up with 10 key takeaways
Okay, I like it.
from the book that our listeners can really use.
A roadmap to success.
All right. So number one, I think we got to start with those regional drive-to vacation markets,
Right. They're a great option for stability and resilience.
especially when the economy's not doing so hot.
People still want to get away,
They do.
but they might not have as much money to spend.
Right. So those drive-to destinations,
Mm.
they're really appealing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, number two,
And number two, got to build that strong team.
the A team.
Your housekeepers, your handymen, anybody who's helping you out,
Yeah.
they're crucial for keeping things running smoothly.
So you can focus on the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Okay, number three,
Number three, make that listing shine,
make it sparkle.
right? Spend the money, get some good photos,
Professional quality for sure.
write a really captivating description. Be honest. but highlight those unique features.
Sell it.
Sell it. All right, number 4, don't get hung up on the rental history.
Right. A property with a bad history might just need a little TLC.
Some love.
Yeah. You got to see the potential, not just the past performance.
Okay, number 5, online booking platforms.
Embrace them.
Embrace the technology.
That's where the guests are.
That's how people book travel these days.
If you're not on those platforms, you're missing out. All right, number 6.
Number 6, the cash reserve.
Gotta have it.
Remember swimming naked.
Ooh, yeah. Nobody wants to do that.
That cash reserve is your safety net.
It protects you from those unexpected bumps in the road.
Okay, number 7, the 5 bank account system.
I love this system. It's so organized.
It keeps everything separate and helps you stay disciplined.
You know exactly where your money's going.
Revenue taxes, CapEx, cash reserves, profit.
Boom. It's all accounted for.
Number 8, set those boundaries with guest communication.
Right. Be responsive, but you don't have to be available 24/7.
You need time for yourself, too.
Exactly. And make sure you have clear policies in place.
So everyone knows what to expect?
Okay. Number 9, negative reviews.
Don't freak out.
Stay calm. Stay professional.
Use the platform's policies to your advantage.
And you might even be able to get those bad reviews removed.
If they're unfair.
And finally, number 10.
You can't please everybody.
That's so true.
Some people are just going to be impossible to satisfy.
Focus on providing a great experience for the majority of your guests.
And learn from those difficult situations.
All right. So there you have it. 10 key takeaways from Avery Carl's Short-Term Rental, Long-Term Wealth.
A great roadmap for anyone starting out in this business.
And we'll leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, hit me.
What type of STR market really speaks to you?
Ooh, I like that.
Why are you drawn to certain types of properties or destinations?
It's a good question to consider.
It helps you really define your niche.
Your ideal guest, your ideal investment.
So there you have it. That wraps up our deep dive into Avery Tarl's book.
A wealth of information.
It really is. We hope you found it helpful.
I think it's been a great discussion.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.
Happy investing.